Hello, and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Videomail for the week of September 8th, 2014. Welcome to this site to you new members. I mean it. Welcome. And welcome back to the old members. The Ask Videomail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one, but I need your question if I'm going to answer it, so please send it to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. It is the best way to get the most out of the site. I am in the Czech Republic right now. I know it looks like I'm standing in front of the camera in my studio in LA, but I'm actually in the Czech Republic. Yes, I had to pre-record this video mail, but that is how committed I am. The service goes uninterrupted when I am out of the country or whatever. We have to keep on rolling. We have it under control here. So I just wanted to mention a few things. I am in the Czech Republic at the Animalia workshop. Every single year, a guy named David from the Czech Republic puts on this workshop, gets industry heavyweights. I'm really in good company. I actually feel a little bit like a schmo when I go because he gets people from Pixar, like Anthony Wong. Neil Helm was there this year. He got Keith Lango to direct the short film production course this year. And then me, I'm doing creatures. So kind of bringing up the rear and doing the creature course. No, really, I just think that the talent that David gets together is unbelievable. So get in touch with David if you think that this is fantastic. It's a great opportunity for European animators because there is basically a grant that he gets that makes the course so cheap. For I think it's like 500 euros for a 2-week long course, and you sleep there. It's every single day, 8 hours a day. It's like a super intense workshop, and just so you know, it is a life-changing experience. It's fantastic. Also wanted to point out CG Spectrum. You can see there, I know it looks like I'm going through like an earthquake right now, but I'm standing on my PVC pipe. I'm trying to stretch my feet. Anyway, CG Spectrum's ads are right there and over there. CG Spectrum, I like these guys. I really think that they've got a great idea of how to do some online education. They are not just covering animation as well. They cover a lot of aspects, a lot of disciplines in the CG field, and they are accredited, if I'm not mistaken. You actually get a diploma for post-secondary education when you go to them. So you get a degree. It's kind of a cool thing. Anyway, if you tell them that you came from KennyRoy.com, you get a discount. So check out CG Spectrum for all your needs, and pay attention right here for more news on that. Collabs is done. Collabs is over. Finished last week, and we are basically now going to finish up the project, light and render, and pitch to the industry. If you want to know more about collabs, you got to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Most of you guys are following me, so shouldn't be too hard. But to get up-to-date information on that, go to collabs.arconics.com and contact me, and I will put you on a very short list of people who we are going to contact when Collabs comes back again. All right, so that's all my announcements. Let's get to the question this week. It's a goodie. Very happy to answer this question for you. I think, well, let me caveat this. It was funny, we had Dave Burgess from DreamWorks as a special guest for Collabs, and he talked a lot about workflow. I really liked how he was talking about it in terms of the difference between 2D and 3D workflow. But one thing that he did say was that in the beginning he was always, basically touching all the controllers on a character, and as he worked further and further, he was kind of getting to know what controls that you need to touch to get your character into the right pose and the right timing as fast as possible. And it kind of sounded like tempo to me. Even though there is still a lot of still a lot of posing and a lot of stuff that you're kind of doing if you're using the character rig instead of something like a helper object or the tempo cube, which I gave you guys last month for the lecture. It's still like, workflow always comes down to finding the path of least resistance, or taking the easiest way to get the most results, whatever you want to call it. With this issue, though, I want to say that it is kind of one of those things that if you are just really set in your ways, that you probably shouldn't change. I really, 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 really prefer pull vectors over twist controls. I really do. The reason is because pull vectors, I feel like you can set them and forget them. If you have like this one section where someone is doing like some broad action or whatever, and you want to pose those arms, and you know that the elbows have to follow a certain kind of trajectory, then I find it's easier to what I call fly them out. So you know how like fly a kite, it's kind of like you fly those pull vectors away from the character. Here, let me show you what I'm talking about. Fly the pull vector sort of out in a way, and when you're doing your action, because it's kind of far away, it's almost like, let me show you the alternative. If it's like really close, then what you're going to get is that elbow, twisting, perhaps unpredictably when you do movements like that. But when you move them a little bit further away, then it almost kind of like calms that elbow down. And I find that is a little bit of a quicker way for me to work than using twist controls. And I find that especially when you have your pull vectors like kind of far away, that you get less counter animation. You get less kind of going back in and adjusting the elbow, sort of position than you would if you didn't have those. The advantage of the twist control is mainly in the time savings that you get if your twist control is on your IK arm mover. Okay, some IK arms have a twist control and a pull vector, and the twist is basically it adds or subtracts from the pull vector. So if your pull vector is directly behind and your elbow is pointing at it, sometimes a twist goes above and beyond, or above and below that rotation plane, and that's useful. I can imagine if you fly your pull vectors and you do your animation, and you get basic pull vector animation on there as well, to add a little bit of just a little bit more on top of what you already have with that twist control. But again, I feel that the main advantage of having a twist control on the IK mover is that you can move it around and then go in here. This is a stretch control, but like as you can see, just going over here to the what do you call this thing, channel box, and just making a little bit of adjustment without having to select something else, that could add up to be a significant time savings. I will admit. I just find that you get calmer, sort of more relaxed results that require less keys and less counter animation when you pull those pull vectors a little bit further out. The disadvantage, again, though, is that if you're posing your character right here and your pull vector is flown out pretty far, well, then you have kind of the task sometimes of posing your character, and even if you can't see where he is, wait, where the heck did this guy's pull? Oh, there's his pull vectors. I do like in general for there to be a line in between the pull vectors and the objects that they are affecting, because sometimes maybe the pull vectors will cross or whatever. One way you can add that is you can do a measurement tool. So basically, if you go measurement tool, distance tool, this is kind of a little bit of a trick. I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to click on this bone. Okay. The measurement tool draws a line, and you can constrain then this locator to the pole vector, or the opposite. And then parent this, and then hide that. So you get a little bit of, and then you can do the same thing here. Just parent it to the bone and hide it. So then you just have a line between there. There's obviously other dimension tools. In fact, I'm not sure if the dimension tool, you know, I've never looked at this and seen if the, you know, it has this offset, and I don't know if you can change that, actually. You know, there may be a quicker or better way to do this. Another way that I do know might be a little bit quicker is if you draw a linear curve. So you go to your curve, and you go to your tool settings, make your curve degree linear, like this. Okay, and I'm just going to snap this down here, just for sake of ease. And I'm going to click there, and then I'm going to click on this bone. And then if you go to CV, there's only 2 CVs on this. So if you could do a create a cluster, and then parent the cluster, and then hide the cluster, and then same thing over here, CV. Come on now, turn off bones, create another cluster, and then parent it to the bone, and then hide it. Now you've got a curve. Now you've got a NURBS curve that is being drawn. So there's a couple different ways. I'm almost sure that I've seen a dimension shape that doesn't have that offset on there. But at any rate, that's kind of the only change that I would probably do to any rig that did have pole vectors. I also imported Morpheus here. Morpheus has a curve, and I'm pretty sure that he has a twist control on top. This is what I wanted to show you. Sorry. Morpheus actually has parent constraints built in to the pole vector. And this is normally done mostly on legs, that the knee pole vector is parented to the foot. So you kind of you start off with that approximation of a pole vector following the foot. And if you twist your foot, you'll see that really it's your hip that's twisting freely. And really your knee only gets off of the same direction of your toe when your foot is planted and you're shifting and you're pushing weight onto it. Okay, so now that this is planted and he starts, you know, twisting this way and moving this way, yeah, sure, this knee might start moving off of that off of that strong line on that toe, definitely. But with the elbows, it's basically like, who knows how it's going to move. So sometimes having it being parented to the hand is good if you're doing like, one simple action. You want it to like twist over like that, very, very, very simply. Like that. You see that? Other times, though, you might want it to be independent, like blokes are, and this parent would be whirled, and then you can move this all around and nothing's happening. So that's another great thing to build into a rig, or ask your rigger if they have the time to add that to a rig that you're working on, so that you have that versatility. Pretty much, though, the answer to the other part of the question is, once you have it set up, well, you need to do a little bit of thinking before you choose. Like with this action, if you want it, it's a very simple thing, like turning the whole arm over like this. You want that to be controlled with the hand, that's fine. You would choose that and pick that beforehand. You do not normally switch any of these mid-animation. There's normally no reason to at all. And I thought about it for a while before I answered this question, and I couldn't come up with a test case for why that would be necessary. So anyway, that was a great question. I enjoy receiving all your questions. Remember, you get 2 free days added to your account immediately once you send in a question. For every question you send in, the address to send them to is webmaster@kennyroy.com. This has been a lot of fun. I'm Kenny Roy. Good luck with your animation, and as always, rock on.